This changes everything. Not just the race. Not just the championship. Everything. Because after the chaos in Japan, after a crash that exposed a dangerous flaw in the rules, one team didn't struggle. One team didn't adapt. One team dominated. Mercedes. While every other car on the grid was fighting unpredictable speed drops, losing control of energy deployment, and dealing with a system drivers called dangerous, Mercedes looked perfect. Faster on the straights. More stable in traffic. Completely in control of their energy. And here's the part that has the entire paddock talking. They're not just faster. They're operating differently. Data shows they harvest more energy per lap, deploy more power, and lose less performance over time, all at once. That shouldn't be possible under the same rules. So now the biggest question in Formula One is no longer who is fastest. It's how. Because if Mercedes has found something inside the regulations, something no one else understands yet, then this isn't just dominance. This is control over the system itself. And now the FIA is under pressure to investigate. Not just the crash, not just the rules, but Mercedes. Subscribe now, because the detail everyone is missing is the one that could decide whether this season is already over. At first, no one wanted to say it, because saying it out loud changes the entire narrative. Suzuka wasn't just chaotic, it was revealing. While most teams were fighting the system, Mercedes was mastering it. And that difference didn't just show in the result. It showed in the way the race unfolded. Go back to the key moment. The safety car. Lap 22. This is where everything usually resets. Gaps disappear. Strategies collide. Opportunities open. But for Mercedes, it became something else. An advantage multiplier. Antonelli pits. Perfect timing. Perfect execution. And suddenly, he doesn't just recover positions. He takes control of the race. Now here's the part most people missed. It wasn't luck. It was precision. Because to make that strategy work, you need one thing above everything else. Predictability. You need to know exactly how your car will behave after the restart, how the tires will respond, how the energy will deploy, how the pace will evolve. And while other teams were guessing, Mercedes already knew. That's why the restart looks so effortless. Within just a few laps, Antonelli pulls away. Not slowly, decisively. Over 1 second. Then 2. Then more. No fight. No pressure. Just control. And this is where the suspicion begins to grow. Because when a system is unstable for everyone, but perfectly stable for one team, that's not coincidence. That's understanding. Now look deeper. Because the real difference isn't just speed. It's workload. Other drivers are managing multiple variables at once. Battery levels. Energy deployment. Defensive positioning. Constant adjustments. Constant decisions. But Mercedes drivers are freed from that. The system handles it automatically. And that changes everything. Because at this level, even a small reduction in mental load becomes a massive advantage. More focus on racing. More precision in braking. More consistency over long stints. And in a race like Suzuka, that's the difference between reacting and controlling. Now connect this to the bigger picture. If Mercedes has built a system that removes unpredictability, while others are still fighting it, then they are not just ahead, they are operating in a different category. And that's exactly what the numbers suggest. Higher top speeds, better energy efficiency, lower tire degradation, all at once. That combination doesn't just win races, it breaks competition. And that's why the questions are getting louder. Inside the paddock, behind closed doors, between engineers who understand exactly how difficult this is to achieve. Because if this is purely innovation, it's one of the biggest breakthroughs in modern Formula One. But if it's something else, something hidden within the interpretation of the rules, then this isn't just a performance story. It's a regulatory problem. And that's where the FIA finds itself now. Not just reviewing safety, not just reacting to a crash, but looking directly at the most dominant car on the grid, trying to answer a question that could change everything moving forward. Is Mercedes simply better? Or have they found something no one else was supposed to find? And this is where the story takes a turn no one inside Formula One is comfortable with. Because the more you look at Mercedes, the less this feels like a normal advantage. This feels engineered. Not just speed. Not just efficiency. Control. Complete control over something the rest of the grid still doesn't fully understand. Now here's where it becomes impossible to ignore. The data doesn't just show Mercedes ahead. It shows them ahead in every critical area, simultaneously. Energy harvested per lap, higher. Energy deployed per lap, higher. Top speed, higher. Tire degradation, lower. That combination should not exist. Because in Formula 1, gains usually come with trade-offs. More speed means more degradation. More deployment means less recovery. More performance means more instability. That's the balance every team fights. Except, Mercedes doesn't seem to be fighting it at all. They've removed the trade-off. And that's what has engineers across the paddock asking questions. Serious questions. Because achieving that kind of balance, under the same regulations, requires something deeper than setup. Deeper than strategy. It points to the core of the car. The engine. The energy system. The software controlling it all. And this is where the investigation angle becomes real. Not confirmed publicly, but impossible to ignore internally. Because if Mercedes has developed an automated energy management system that optimizes deployment in real time, without driver input, then they've effectively removed one of the biggest limitations in modern Formula 1. And that changes everything. Because now, the driver is no longer managing the system. The system is managing itself. Perfectly. Every lap. Every straight. Every scenario. While everyone else is still reacting. Now think about what that means in a race like Suzuka, where unpredictability caused a crash. Where sudden speed differences created danger. Mercedes doesn't just avoid that problem. They operate above it. And that's where the controversy explodes. Because if one team can neutralize the very issue that makes the rules dangerous, then the rules themselves are no longer equal. They're selective. They reward one interpretation and punish the rest. Now the FIA faces a situation they didn't expect. This isn't just about fixing a safety issue anymore. It's about understanding whether one team has gone too far ahead, legally, but dangerously so. Because if the gap continues to grow, other teams will try to replicate it, push the same limits, chase the same solution. And that's where the real risk begins. Because if multiple teams unlock that level of energy control, the speed differences could become even more extreme, even more sudden, even harder to predict. Which means Suzuka might not be the peak of the problem. It might be the beginning. And that leads to the final question. The one sitting at the center of this entire controversy. Does the FIA allow this advantage to continue? And risk the sport becoming both unbalanced and more dangerous? Or do they step in and change the rules again? Even if it means targeting the most dominant team on the grid. Now everything reaches the point Formula 1 always tries to avoid. A decision. Not technical. Not strategic. Political. Because what the FIA does next will define this entire season. And possibly, the future of these regulations. Behind closed doors, the conversation is no longer simple. It's not just about safety anymore. It's about fairness. Because if Mercedes is operating within the rules, then technically, they've done nothing wrong. They've just done it better than everyone else. And in Formula 1, that's supposed to be the goal. But here's the problem. When one team becomes this far ahead, because they've solved something others haven't, the sport faces a dilemma. Do you reward innovation? Or protect competition? And that's where things get uncomfortable. Because history shows a clear pattern. Whenever one team finds something too powerful, something that breaks the balance, the rules change. Not immediately. Not openly. But eventually. Always. And Mercedes knows this. That's what makes this moment even more intense. Because they are not just racing against other teams. They are racing against time. Time before the FIA steps in. Time before a directive is issued. Time before their advantage is reduced. Or completely removed. Now think about the position of the FIA. If they do nothing, Mercedes could dominate the entire season. Race after race. With a system no one else can match. But if they intervene, they risk something just as dangerous. Accusations. Controversy. Claims of targeting one team. Altering competition mid-season. And Formula 1 has been here before. Moments where the governing body had to choose between letting dominance continue or stepping in to rebalance the sport. And every time, the decision leaves consequences. Now add the final layer. The drivers. Because they are no longer silent. They've experienced the instability. They've seen the crash. They've felt the unpredictability. And now, they're watching one team operate without it. That contrast is impossible to ignore. So pressure builds from every direction. Teams questioning fairness. Drivers demanding safety. Fans questioning integrity. And at the center of it all, the FIA. Forced to act. But with no perfect solution. Because whatever they decide, changes something fundamental. Either the competition, or the rules, or both. And this is where everything finally connects. The chaos in Suzuka. The instability of the system. The dominance of Mercedes. The growing suspicion. The pressure for investigation. It's not separate stories. It's one chain reaction, leading to a single moment. The decision. And here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. If the FIA gets this wrong, they don't just risk another controversy. They risk something much bigger. Losing control of the sport itself. Because once trust is broken, in the rules, in the system, in the fairness of competition, everything else starts to fall apart. So now the entire season hangs on one question. Not who is fastest, not who will win, but whether Formula One can still guarantee that what we are watching is truly equal. And if the answer is no, then Suzuka won't be remembered for the crash. It will be remembered as the moment everything changed.